opportunities that are there, everything from teaching to performing and anything else you can find, you know. So I've done that in the past and it doesn't work for me, you know, because my motivation for it is different. So I would rather not make a living from it personally, but I think if that's the way you want to go, you've got to diversify and try and have your finger in all the pies, so to speak. It's not going to happen from events and competing, or it will happen for a few people. That's just the minority. If you want to be self-sufficient, you need to diversify, do as many, use your skills in as many different ways as you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really deep question, and to actually try and answer it is kind of crazy, because the people that are actually doing it at the moment are making money from it are very, very few. Like, I would say less than 1% in the scene, you know. And like, there's opportunities that I think are opening up, and there's things that are coming into play that might allow us, like as artists, to actually represent and be like, okay, this is like something that people will think it's worth investing in. I think it's really about capitalizing on that time when it comes, personally. Because as we know, the whole situation with the Youth Olympics and whatnot, now it's going to be in the public eye. We're going to see it in the public eye. So I think this is really going to, it's going to provide a platform for people and artists to actually hold it down and represent. But even personally, like, it was always from our own money that we were paying to get the jams and stuff, you know. And like, the people that are doing it, there's one, I would say one person in this room really that's doing that, and that's one person in the UK as well, right? You know, around the world, Red Bull BC1 All-Stars, they're making a sufficient way, but that's like an international crew, and they're the illest b-boys in the world, you know what I mean? So you can aspire to be one of those guys, and you can for sure do it, but I think what we need to think about is actually really being how we can actually be professional as b-boys, and how we can be professional as organizers and stuff. Because at the end of the day, people see this scene, and in many ways, that this is really fresh. I'm honored to be here and stuff. I think personally that I'm not, you know, as qualified as some of the people even in the audience, but you know, when you look at it, something like this is so necessary, because people are seeing this, and when people see this culture, they're going to see, damn, this is something that's fresh. People are actually here listening, people are tuning in, so they're going to realize this is something that's worth investing in. So I think we really need to see like our approach as b-boys and as organizers, how it is that we can do things official, because there's a few events in the world, when you look at it, yo, the sponsor list at the bottom is crazy, you know. When you look at that, how about we start bringing people in, and you know, there's one or two events in the UK that are doing it, where like, yo, we can invite people, and now this is a way for them to be sustainable. Like, we're inviting them, we're actually paying them to come to the jam, but what's really, that takes a business mind, and you know, and Legs was talking about that as well from Rocksteady, because we don't really need dumb people in this scene. Do you know what I'm saying? Generally, I mean, that's a harsh statement, but at the end of the day, anything that you do and you do with a passion, you know, you need to come with it, and you need to come with a, you know, with a level-headed approach, and how it is you're actually going to make things happen. So, you know.
I'm about to get real mad, because I'm hearing a lot of chat in the room while this is going on. If you don't want to be in here and listen, then come out. But please respect the fact that these guys are giving their opinions. I'm standing right next to them, and I can just hear it in the back of my head. So please respect the fact that we're in here trying to gain something from it, okay? Please, yeah? Right, Boogs.
I think another thing worth bearing in mind when you talk about sort of making a living from breaking, I think that's generally where your question was coming from. Is that relatively?
That's encompassing the question.
Yeah. Okay, cool. It's like a lot of people that I know and have known that do make a living from dance in general, you know, you got to be aware that their lifestyle is not, they're not living it up. They're not making a lot of money, and they're working really hard for the money they are making. Now, you jump forward 20 years from now, do you still want to be making that kind of money? Because I'm not sure that the opportunities are there at the moment, and I don't know how if they are going to be there for you to be making decent money in 20 years time, when your body doesn't want to do the same things that you're doing now. You know, you got to be very careful. It's almost like a rose-tinted way of looking at things. You can make a few pounds now, and you know, in 20 years time, you want to be capable of making that money. You got to think about what your backup plan is as well. You know, you need to have a backup plan for younger dancers. So I had to completely, you know, when I blew my knee out and pretty much had to stop breaking for 2 years, And, you know, that pretty much ended me as a dancer. I still dance, but, you know, I couldn't compete with most of the people in this room, you know, physically. I had to retrain and learn to do something else, which takes a lot of time. But, you know, if you want to have a home and a family, you know, and have a decent life moving on, you've got to think about that as well. You know, and I know that will make sense to some people here, and to some people they'll be thinking, well, what are you on about? I'm 22 and I'm on fire. But you ain't going to be 22 and on fire forever.
Yeah, I guess there's two things. I mean, that's partly why I decided to why people do this. Why do we get into the scene? Because as Rob has put it, you know, not everyone is going to reach that peak level where there are opportunities emerging that we can take, and so we have to think about why else are people in this culture, which kind of takes it back to what do you want from an event. If your reason is I go to an event because I want to be the best, and therefore the events are part of me doing that, that's cool, but the likelihood of that being a success is quite difficult. Not to say you shouldn't push it if that's what you're dedicated to, but that's kind of why I thought it was useful that we have this sort of discussion in the university environment where there are people who are interested in the culture but also have a professional life as well, and they want to marry the two, and that's kind of the idea of thinking what's the best way to do that. So, I mean, do people have any sort of, why are people in this culture? Why do people come to jams? Why do people come to the event today?
Come to get away from my wife and the no, I'm joking. Nah, but for real, like I started 17 years ago. In fact, if I take it back further than that, because I'm an old guy, when I was young, I was always enthralled by any dance I saw, and anything I saw that was a challenge, I wanted to do it. From being a sponsored skater to learning how to rollerblade, playing ice hockey, tennis, Diablo, juggling, magic tricks, everything I saw that was a challenge, I wanted to do it. But I always had a love for dancing. Then one day I see a guy doing windmills and I was just like, I tried to do that for months, how do you do it? Teach me. And then it just became like a drug. So I'm here now hosting because dancing, and it's still a drug. I still love the culture, I still love meeting people. But in the beginning, I had that mentality of, I want to be the best. I'm going to be pro, I'm going to do this and that. And like as someone said a minute ago, the 1% in the room of people that are on that world level, you know, on that Mike Tyson level, you know, whoever, it's very, very little. So the thing is, it became a realization for me in the 20s, like Boogs has said, that it's not going to be that. But I still love the dance. So it didn't end for me there. And that's why I'm here today, because I love the culture. And I've got now 3 people. Are these questions?
Well, yeah,
all right, we'll go with you first.
Yeah, this is kind of following what you just said. Like, in the 20s, you had a realization that this is the 1%, and what Razzle said as well about the 1%, what you said. But isn't that the issue, that not enough people are aspiring to be that 1%? Like, I personally feel like the reason why I started breaking, like I went home at Christmas and I cleaned out my room and I found one of these, my first list I ever made, like I must have been like, when I first started breaking, and on the top of my list was win Red Bull BC1, and personally, that is still my goal, that's still my ambition. I want to be in that. Red Bull maybe not the biggest comp, it's undisputed now, but that same mentality, I still want to be the best, and I feel like not enough people are pushing. I feel like the reason why Sunni is on that level is because he identified that's what he wanted to do and he stuck by it and he didn't change it. So I feel like more people need to do that. That's my personal opinion. I know people won't agree, but that's how I feel, and that's, you know, what I'm gonna do.
No, I think that is a very good point. I think what I'm trying to say is that there are 2 areas, isn't there? So there's if you look at like boxing, for example, you've got a professional circuit, but you've got like an amateur circuit, and you've got these different circuits. So for me, that would make the most sense if you can have some sort of classification in terms of if you're pushing this as a professional, then obviously the sponsors that would go to that would be bigger ones. If you're someone who's doing it as an amateur or part-time, whatever, then you can potentially add to those categories. So then you've got different sectors if you really want to push it that way. But there's a couple of things, is that the development, you know, of that relies on developing an infrastructure. Okay, and that's where things fall down, because I mean, I've been dancing now competitively 15 years. Okay, so I've been around and seen the growth of competitions, and at the moment, which is kind of moving on to our next topic about even judging, it's still not clear. we don't have a clear structure of how a judge is going to do it. It's, oh, that's his opinion, that's that person's opinion. You know, something needs to be reproducible, it needs to be consistent. So there's a lot of things that we don't actually have at the moment, just in a way that competitions are set for people to go to. So I've got, you know, some questions that I'm building up in terms of how much does judging affect your choice to go to an event, as a competitive event. But it's, again, it goes back to those two branches. Some people don't do this for competition, you know, and you have to sort of distill out those two things. So if we have a clear, you know, demographic, these guys want to chill, these guys want to jam and vibe and socialise and in a particular thing and have fun and not push it too much competition, but maybe self-development based, then we can develop events more around that side of things. If we have it, no, we want to be professional athletes, then you go down another route. But if you mix the two, I think that's why the difficulties are there. You know, you have these different levels, you know, first division, second division, football, whatever, premiership. You have to segment it, and if we don't do that, then that's an issue, I think.
No, I just wanted to say, like, obviously, when you're talking about making a living and opportunity in that, sorry, I'm gonna sit down. Like, I get what you're saying when you started dancing in that 20 years ago. Like, there wasn't a way to make a living unless you was part of that 1%, and there wasn't that much money in the scene. But like, because there's so many young people here now, you know, when you're saying that stuff, kind of is disheartening. And it's not really true anymore. Like, in the scene, everyone I started dancing with 5 years ago on the Europe scene, Justin, Colombia, Victor I met like 7 years ago when he was whack, you know. Like, loads of, the whole top tier is young b-boys now, you know. If you look at the undisputed list, 20 out of 30 of the names on there are under 23. So it is super possible, especially now, we're kind of in a shift between the culture and when there wasn't much money, and now it's becoming a sport, and there's a lot of money coming into dance now, but we haven't utilized it yet. I don't like the sound of my voice through this, so I don't really want to talk. But that's one thing I think as young people you need to understand. I'm not saying you guys are wrong at all, but in your generation it was a lot different to our generation. Now you don't have to be one of the 1%. The 1% is 15% now. In 5 years it will be 25%. Like, it's progressing, there's a lot of money coming into the scene, but you need to work out as young people how you're gonna utilize the money. Because as b-boys, our biggest mistake is we get money and that's that, you know, we splash it. We're like, yeah, £1,000, we got it, we made it. Where instead of we could take the £1,000 and we can make it 10,000. And then when the kids come up next time, they got 10,000 to make 50,000. But not so much the generations before us, but just because we've been so deprived of like becoming superstars and like becoming somewhere in this dance and actually getting something from it, we need to sustain it when we get there. And you shouldn't not aspire to be one of that 1% because it's so doable. Like, I didn't win a jam in UK for like 4 or 5 years when I first started. And then I kept going. Now I make more than like a full-time, I make easily more than a full-time wage of dance, you know? And it's very, very possible. You just have to have the right mindset. And especially, we're super lucky in this time because we're right on the middle. We get to see the real hip hop still. We still have a lot of the culture in, but it, like, unfortunately it is leaving. But what's coming in is money and opportunity. So make the most of it. And if you want to be part of that top tier, it's very possible, and you guys are in the best time now to do it.
And I've got a question for you based on that.